Okay, we can get these two images on the screen here. All right, let's go ahead and expose this image, burn the screen. We'll go ahead and use my T-square here, trusty T-square. Center the image. Make sure that it's right in the middle. I'll go ahead and use the T-square. Usually burn it at 8. So that way I can use it. I can print this on the auto or the manual, depending on the preference.
So you can put two different ones?
Yeah, what you want to do is you actually want to put multiple images on the screen, so you're not wasting it and you're utilizing all the space for the screen, because it's a long process to reclaim and coat the screen and let them dry and everything. So this is called ganging the images on the screen, which it just means putting multiple images on the screen.
How many have you done on one? Like, can you do like small?
I done it. Yeah, if there's little ones, you can do quite a few. Yeah, that's a good question, because if they're small, and say if I had like a left chest logo, a center print, a right chest, a full back, or a full front, or at least like something like this, like it's a front center, then it would be able to get multiple images on the screen. And a lot of people do that. A lot of shops do that. Right now, these two will fit just perfectly, so that'll work for that. Let me close the vacuum lid here. Turn on the vacuum. Usually set this at 32. 32 stands for light units. It's not seconds.
What are the light units?
Basically, it's how many units you're going to use to expose the image to the screen. So I'm using 32, so it's not high and it's not low. So that what I want to do is make sure that I'm not underexposing and I'm not overexposing, or else you can have trouble right there when you're washing out your screen. And also at the press, the screen will wash out prematurely. The image, you'll lose the image, and the motion will fall out, or you'll have breakdown at the press. So you got to make sure that you dial in the exposing time for the correct time. So if we found 32 to work good for the shop.
Is it different for pieces though? Like for bigger pieces or more?
For longer runs, so it really doesn't really vary too much. It just when I'm going to go ahead and coat a screen, and I can't wait a long time for it to dry, so I put it on the fan, which is always good to have a fan to assist the drying process. But what I do, you see how that was quick already? That wasn't even like 5-6 seconds there. So what I do to assist the drying process is I go ahead and put it on the fan, but sometimes we need the screen right away, so I only let it dry for like an hour. So what I do is I would increase my exposing units to make sure that the emulsion is harder and it gives it a better chance to dry, so that it won't less chance of it breaking down at the press or washing out when I wash it out at the washout booth. So there's different reasons to adjust the light. Sometimes actually people do adjust it when they're using different mesh. This is a 160. Some people adjust it for like a 230. When they got fine artwork and detail, they might lower or increase the exposing unit time. But we found 32, man, and we just like kind of set it and forget it. It works for basically everything in the shop we're trying to do. Even if it's CMYK 4-color process, line art, halftones, it doesn't matter. It even works for discharge and water-based screens. Yeah, because that's just something you don't want to keep trying to dial in and mess around. Once you got it figured out, that's it. You're there. Let me put the screen rack back in here. Now we just expose the image to the screen, and we're about to wash it out and let's see the image appear here. I like to start off with a shower nozzle on there so I can get everything nice and soaked, and I'll come back later with the fan. This is low pressure. If I have any trouble and it's not washing out correctly, then I will go to the pressure washer, but very rarely you do that. Usually just use that for the reclaiming process. You want to wet both sides. You can already see the image, how it appears. So the image is starting to materialize right now. And when I'm doing it, I'm just gonna let it sit there for at least about 45 seconds or so, 30 seconds, just enough till the image can soften up with the water, and it'll be easier to rinse it out. Some people go ahead and force it with the pressure and with the water, but I don't think that's a good idea. You know, it's just if you're gonna do it right, it's gonna take time, but just do it right, and just do it right the first time, and you're done with it. So I just take a little time, let it do its job, let it work, let it soften up, and I'll go ahead and rinse it off with the fan. Switch the nozzle here. We got a fan going. Well, that's not going good. Put it up to the light and check it out, see if everything's washed out correctly. And we're looking pretty good right there. That actually took a little bit longer to wash out than usual. I think it's not anything to do with the exposure time. This screen was sitting in the dark room for a while, and you can see that we don't have a cover on our door for the dark room, so it's letting some light in there. Even though it's low level lighting, it's been the low level light will still do it if it's on it for a long duration of time. So that's probably why it was hard for it to wash out the screen. Usually they just falls right off. But once you give it a little bit of time to soften up, once you wet it with the water. But it looks good right now, so we're gonna go ahead and use it, blast the air out, use the compressor, so we can wash all the water out of the image. And then let's see, go ahead and get it in the screen rack to dry more.
Is that part of like the?
You know what it was? This right here, that's a ghost image right there. Whoever did the reclaiming the screen, I think it was one of those guys that were here before. He didn't use that stuff that I used to clean the squeegees and the flood bars, which is the ghost image haze remover. You see they didn't do a really thorough job. And sometimes it's heavily soiled. You might have to repeat the process once or twice. Very rarely you do it 3 times. You know, twice is usually generally good enough. Once is always usually good, but sometimes on a rare occasion you might have to do it 2 times. You know what I mean? But it looks like he didn't do it too great. That could actually give you some premature breakdown at the press. But I usually don't have any trouble. Plus I'm gonna go with some blockout all around here. You'll see that later on, and then make sure that nothing gets through and penetrates other than the image, the ink, and everything that we want to print. Nothing else is gonna get printed. So let's go ahead and blast this with some air real quick. Yeah.
Why we blow it out? 3 reasons why we blow it
out. Hold on, fool.
I know, but I'm gonna.
You trying to get crazy with me?
So we blow it out. So it dries faster is 1.
Yeah.
2, we blow it out so no residue stays in there, and so when you go to print it, it locks up in the screen.
Dude, I was just gonna say all that shit, dude, man. Just gonna say that shit, dude. You all up in the business, homie.
You know you're gonna put it on IND or.
Look, dude.
What are we gonna be on, FX or what are we gonna be on?
Probably more like HTTP.
There's 2 reasons why we use the air. There's 2 reasons why we utilize air to clear the image, and one of them is because it will dry the screen quicker and faster. That way we can go ahead and get it up on the press quicker, that much sooner. And the other reason why is sometimes you have a motion residue that's left inside the image area, and if you let it just sit there and dry, then it might block that image area, and you would have to go ahead and reburn another screen. So we want to go ahead and blast it out utilizing the air hose. pick it up in the light, take a look at it. Looks like the image is clear, everything's clean. And we're looking pretty good so far. We don't got that many, I don't see any pinholes at all, as a matter of fact. So we're gonna go ahead and take this over here to the screen rack for it so it can dry. Coming into the dark room right here. This is where we put our screens to dry. So I put it over here on the rack after we coat them and emulsify the screens. So now we're gonna go ahead and just put that right there on the rack, and I'm gonna turn on the fan right here. We already got a fan right here set up. All I gotta do is flip the switch, and it's good to have the fan. It's gonna dry faster, and especially with the help with that air from the compressor and then the air from the fan, then it's gonna be that much quicker, man. So we don't want to waste time here. Well, this normally since it was a warm day, it would dry quicker, faster. But since we don't get, it's kind of a cool day right now. It's been raining, it's cold. This might take about a few minutes, like 3 to 5 minutes right here, just to dry up on just to get the air dry and the water evaporated. And then I have to go to the next step, which is going to be to block out the screen and any blemishes, any pinholes, any fish hooks, anything like that that's not supposed to be there other than the design itself. And then I could let that dry once again. I'm going to put that on the air again. And then after that's dry, then I'll go ahead and tape up the inside of the frame so the ink doesn't get in underneath between the screen and the frame, because it might migrate out here and get on your merchandise on your shirt when you're printing at the press or whatever you're printing on. So we don't want that. So that's why we do it like that. And then I could get it up on the press. So we'll let that deal dry right there.